How is everybody doing? I hope you're all well. We're going to take a look at the Beatles, 1962, 66, 1967 to 70, the red and the blue. These are the 50th anniversary releases on compact disc, originally released in 1973, double LP and cassette, and whatever formats they had back then. Could be 8-track and stuff like that, reel to reel maybe. These were, we'll say, an overview of the Beatles hits and singles, I guess, and some album tracks. Are they perfect compilations? They are and they're not. But again, if you have nothing by the Beatles and you want to get acquainted with the music, you can't go wrong with these. As they are, they're sufficient. You know, the only way you can go from here really is by the anthology CDs, which came out in 1995, 96, or else by the whole back catalogue. And there's room for debate for that in another video. But anyway, these have been dropped more or less now, and they also are available on triple LP sets, which are quite expensive. They're about €80 a pop. I kind of prefer the CDs because of the way that they sequence them. The red, which is the early years, has got 12 extra tracks, and they're in chronological order, to the best of my knowledge. And the blue has 9 extra tracks, and again, they're put into the track listing so that it kind of flows chronologically. The vinyl doesn't do that though. The extra disc is where you have the extra tracks. So, and they're colored vinyl as well. So yeah, originally 1973 they were released, and you know, they're kind of the definitive anthology really. If you put the two of them together, it's an anthology of the band's work, I guess, apart from the anthology that came out in the 90s when the Beatles were re-evaluated in the peak of Britpop. And now look, why did I buy these again? I already have them. I have the 1993 CD editions in the fat boxes. That was the first time they were actually released on compact disc, as far as I know. And I have this one from 2010, which was a remaster, and it fits into the style of the catalogue with the border and the Beatles Apple logo and stuff like that. But this one, I don't have it. I just bought it there recently again, the 2010. It seems to have vanished from the shops. I can't find it in any shop online, so I've had to buy it used, and it's not expensive. You know, you get it for €3 or €4. Another Beatles album as well I don't have, and it's after disappearing. The 2009 edition is what is it? With the Beatles, with the black cover and the 4 heads. If anybody has a copy of that, please send it to me and I'll pay you. 2009 edition. Can't find it anywhere. I have them all except that. So anyway, these, the reason I bought them is because in the last decade, I guess, Jos Martin has been tweaking around with the Beatles stuff. And, you know, the Beatles in the 60s come from an era where mono was the popular format for vinyl LPs. And the Beatles albums were released in mono, and then there was also stereo mixes. Anybody that knows anything about audio and stereo and stuff like that find it, and I find it myself, is that the mix for stereo from the 60s especially it's a 4-track master or whatever, 3-track master. And when you put it into stereo, you have drums over here, maybe bass over here, piano here, vocals in the middle, and it just sounds, if you're listening with headphones, it sounds a bit imbalanced. If you're sitting in a room listening to it on a hi-fi system, it's one-sided, it's lopsided. It doesn't always work. Some simpler tracks with piano and, we'll say, percussion and just vocals and stuff like that seem to work better, but that's why people go for mono. Mono is ideal if you're turning the music up in a room, and you know, it kind of fills the house. It fills there's no kind of point of reference for mono. It's just a sound that comes out everywhere, especially with some jazz stuff as well from the 50s and 60s. But yeah, one-sidedness, I mean, I guess it's you know, it's inherent in the way that they made stereo records. You must remember that mono was the dominant type of the dominant mode of playback back until a certain point, and then stereo was kind of a way of giving you two channels, so it gives you more of a dimension. And of course, that was the selling point back in the mid 60s when it started coming along. It was out before that, but you know, people started offering stereo. It was just another way of skinning the cat. I guess it's the same as the way that compact disc went on to super audio, CD went on to, it's a progression of a format. That's what it actually is. And you also had quadraphonic vinyl LPs as well. So yeah, so these they've been retweaked. You know, like I said, there was the 1974, well, the 1973 vinyl, and then you had the 1993, which was, I suppose, the 20th anniversary, and then you have the 2010, which was a remaster of those, and the 1993 sound fine. Obviously this one has some mono tracks on it. The original of this had mono tracks on it, and then there's a few. But what they've done with these is that they have retweaked them, and they have used the special software that they used on Revolver recently. And I like Revolver. It now sounds like it was recorded in the 70s, not the 60s. You know what I mean? It sounds like we'll say the Fleetwood Mac era in the 70s, where, you know, you've got whatever they had back then, 16 track, 24 track analog. Now it sounds more 70s. You know, it's got you know, the drums are here, bass here, and you know, it's got a more definitive sound for everything. A lot of people like it. Some people don't like it. It probably makes the music a bit more palatable for younger listeners and people who are used to full stereo and stuff with compression and all that kind of stuff. But these are just curiosities. So for me, it's kind of like an anthology, so I can compare them. And you know, for me overall, I'm not a Beatles expert. I don't claim to be. I got into the Beatles very, very late, really. I was into them all my life. Because I heard them on the radio, they were everywhere. But actually I only started buying Beatles stuff, I suppose, in the late 80s. I bought some vinyl. Rubber Soul, I think, was the first one I bought, and I absolutely loved that album. I think it's their most perfect album because it's got 14 tracks and they're all perfect. And again, Rubber Soul has got the, you know, the panned stereo effect. But I was expecting a Rubber Soul box set this year, to be totally honest. Like they've done to the other albums, but that never happened. So these dropped, I think, yeah. But they must have them ready in the can, so we'll probably get Rubber Soul soon. I'd say maybe next summer, I'm not sure. But be interesting to hear them in a fuller sound, fuller setting, and to see how that goes. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go and listen to these, okay? And then I'm going to come back and give a verdict, what I actually feel from the music. Is there anything new on offer? Is there anything that could have been better? Is there anything that's actually making the music worse? Yeah, so bear with me and let me listen to these, and I'll be back. Okay, the verdict. Well, I enjoyed it. I really did. As you can see, I've slipped into something more comfortable. Yeah, it's got 38 tracks now. I always felt that this one, you know, when you buy it, I think each disc is only something like 30 something minutes or whatever. It's quite short, and the only reason they did that in 1993 is because they wanted to keep it in the double format. They could charge double for it then as well. Yeah, they were expensive. The red and the blue in '93 were expensive CDs. They were full price. This one, I enjoyed it. Yeah, the early stuff. Like I said, there's no more mono on this. It says all recordings are stereo. So yeah, the drums on it are more powerful and stuff like that. The bass in some instances. Yeah, it's quite enjoyable to listen to. It's got a tougher sound. There's a little bit more compression and stuff in there as well. It's, you know, with each pass of the master tapes and what they're doing, I guess they're kind of rewriting history in a way. You know, Beatles fans and Beatles obsessives will have everything, and it's a kind of way to make people buy them again, I guess. So, you know, the marketing machine is out there, rolling and constantly trying to skin the cat and dice up the salami in different ways. But, you know, the Beatles are still probably one of the biggest selling bands of all time and the most popular. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the new type of, you know, stereo mix that they did with the older stuff. Yeah, really good. What I really liked was the Rubber Soul tracks. Absolutely fantastic. Michelle was amazing. The bass line was bigger. Some of them then had kind of a thinner bass, which was strange. But yeah, there was a nice oomph to certain things. But, you know, I'm not going to be nitpicky and stuff like that and say, oh, look, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. Obviously, I guess there was kind of a less, how will I explain it? There's less of a 60s sound in some ways. Maybe some of the reverbs are changed slightly. I'm not sure. Yeah, look, I've been listening to the Beatles all my life, but when I was a kid, they were on the radio all the time. I started buying the albums eventually, but they were the mono or the stereo LPs that were in tatters, and then I started buying I started buying the CDs maybe only in the last decade, really. And I've been kind of late to the party, I have to add, but you know, they've done a lot of things. We know Revolver was done last year, so anything from Revolver here is going to be the same as was last year. A few other things that they, you know, that they put in, but overall I was quite satisfied with it, you know what I mean. Yeah, the booklet as well has got extra lyrics, but it kind of sticks to the original format of the 2010 anyway. New sleeve notes and stuff like that, as far as I can see. There's a mistake in the back of this as well. It just, compared to the blue, it just says all recording are stereo. So they left out the S on the back of the book. Yeah, but yeah, I was quite happy with it. You know what I mean. Look, these aren't that expensive. You know what I mean. There's a nice 2-disc set as well. Or sorry, there's a nice, yeah, the 4-disc set in one box with a white sleeve covering it. That would be nice to have on this. You know what I mean, because it differentiates them on the shelf compared to the 2010 red and blue. But yeah, like I said, 2023 remixes. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It just brings back the music right in front of you, and it's a different slant, slightly different. I mean, the songs are still there, the performances are still there. You know, they're still great. You know, 39 tracks, and they're all excellent. You know, they're great songs. McCartney and Lennon and even George Harrison and stuff, like, they're all very good. You know, the Beatles are fantastic. So yeah, very happy with this. You know, it's just, I will say, yeah, it's probably easier to listen to, you know, because of the new stereo mixes are definitely easy to listen to. Whether they lose the magic and the kind of vibe of the originals, that is up for debate. Anyway, so that's it. I'm going to pop on the blue one now, and the blue, I mean, Peppers has been done, so has Abbey Road. The White Album was done. They're all after being retweaked, and as well as Let It Be, and of course, like Magical Mystery Tour stuff as well, Lady Madonna and stuff like that, Hey Jude. The non-album tracks, like, that weren't from the main albums, they've all been tweaked as well, as far as I know. So yeah, Let's get this one into the machine. So that's another one down. The blue, I just listened to the whole thing. Yeah, it's good. There's not as much here as there is on the red, you know, as far as tweaking goes, because like I said, I've already mentioned the albums that most of these tracks are from have already been tweaked. Yeah, it's a great collection, you know, there's no doubt about it. It's a great collection. And like I said, I think they're probably better now than they ever were, you know, for new fans. The two collections, buy them. And you know, you have a lot of Beatles then under two roofs. Now and Then, okay, that's a new track. All right, that's a Lennon vocal. It's a Lennon demo from the 70s, as far as I know, and they re-recorded around it, just like they did with Free as a Bird back in the 90s. I will say that, for me personally, Lennon demos are not Beatles songs. So it's a kind of oddity here, and I think it doesn't really serve this any purpose whatsoever. Plus the fact, you know, it says 1967 to 70. This is a track from, obviously parts of it are from the 70s and parts of it are from recently. So yeah, it's just a bit strange. I guess, you know, it's a selling point as well. But I think that should have just been a separate single. It was a single, but I think it should. I don't think it really needs to be on this, you know, to be totally honest. If you want to be more historically accurate, I don't think it needs to be on it. But overall, great collections, and you can't go wrong with them, really. You know, you just let them run away, and yeah, you're gonna go back in time and have fun with the Beatles. So that's it. That's all there is to say, really. There's not much else. I enjoyed listening to these. Yeah, it must be 4 hours, nearly 4 hours worth of music, I guess. Yeah, maybe more. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and take care.